Hi, Swiss Bohemian here. Today I share with you a small part of my manga collection. It's the second part I have here in my living room. And let's start right at the top. These are all shonen manga, and on the top here I have Urusei Yatsura, all 34 volumes, the original Japanese volumes. Dust Spat, also by Rumiko Takahashi. So these here are all manga. It's all the same series by Rumiko Takahashi. Then I have a little bit of One Punch Man and Ichigo 100%. Further down here, I have manga by Akamatsu Ken. He is most known for Love Hina, which I was quite a big fan of like about almost 20 years ago. I still like it, but I'm not that big into it anymore. And I also continued to buy his later manga, which was Mahou Sensei Negima. I bought a little bit of this, but then I stopped about volume 13 because I lost interest in this manga. Ika Musume. I really like this one. It's quite fun. I have the first 12 volume. I think it's already finished. I discovered this manga while I was traveling in Japan 10 years ago, and there were the first 4 volumes. I found them in, I think it was a Mandarake. Then further down I have some volumes of City Hunter. I have most of City Hunter in French, but then I stopped buying French and I had some Japanese ones. This is High School Kimengumi, which is more well known in France under the name Collège Fufufu. I watched this as an anime in the late 80s, early 90s, and I think I bought this manga in Japanese while I was for the first time in Japan. The first 6 volumes, and then the second volume is High School Kimengumi. So this was Sannen Kimengumi. They were still in junior high school, and here they are in high school. And then one of my all-time favorites, this is Kimagure Orange Road. Here the author recently passed away only like 1.5 months ago, Izumi Matsumoto. I was really into the anime first when it broadcasted in France in the early 90s to mid 90s, and I discovered the manga in Switzerland. I got some of the volumes in Japanese. I think volume 17 or volume 14 was my very first manga in Japanese. So of all my manga in Japanese, this one was the very first, which also gave me like the initiative to start learning Japanese. Good. Then let's continue a bit further here. This is Graffiti. This is also Izumi Matsumoto, and this is a short story collection by him. I think it's the only short collection which exists by him. This is Tadashi Kodomo no Tsukurikata, the right way how to make babies, more or less. That's a rather weakish shonen. I just bought the first volume. I was not so interested in the rest. And here, this is Shinsekai Yori from the New World, which is, it's an okay manga. Up here, we have Silver Spoon. It's a really interesting manga about this high school boy who goes to Hokkaido and is enrolled in a high school for agriculture. It's really interesting. I really recommend this one. It's also, I'm pretty sure it was translated into English, and it also won a prize in 2012, like a big manga prize in Japan. It's a really good one, and it also became an anime. Then Eyes, the first 15 volumes of Eyes. I bought this one in Switzerland mostly. I remember when it came out, it was a quite big thing among manga fans, because the author was already well known for Wingman and for Video Girl Ai in France, and we were quite hyped up when we learned that he started to publish, to draw a new manga. And so I bought that starting from 97 until I think the year 2000 here. Then this one is a bit odd. Punk is a shoujo manga. I can't really remember where I came across this one, but I thought it was quite cute. It's an older one from the early 1980s, and it has many volumes. Yeah, I just have the one volume. Then I have Ranma, starting from 11, then 16, all up to 38 with some gaps in between. The earlier volumes of manga I have in German and in French, and then the later volumes in between I have on another shelf. School Rumble, which was an anime 15 years ago. I thought it was okay, but I never really wanted to buy more of this manga. But the next two from the same author, this one is really good. This is a short love story. It has only 2 volumes. This is a love story about a shy otaku boy who comes across one night a very attractive Chinese girl who wants to cycle all the way to Kyoto for some odd reason, and he agrees to join her, and so it's like a kind of road trip romance. It's only 2 volumes, but it's really good. I really recommend this one. The name is Ichiro Heian, Have a Nice Trip. Then we have Aku no Hana. This is quite a disturbing manga. It also has been translated into English and also as an animation with rotoscoping. That's the story about this schoolboy who is really an introvert and who steals the gym bag of one girl and sniffs her clothes. So it's really kind of gross, but then it goes into the psychological, and that's a really good manga. I have the first 8 volumes, and I read the rest online. The drawings are quite nice. Then Sansan Byoshi. This is a shonen manga by Kubo Mitsuro. That's a rather unknown author in the West. Then we have one manga by Miura Mitsuru, and all this year is the Kabocha one, which is also one of my favorite anime from the 1980s. That's a rom-com, romantic comedy between a short guy and a tall girl. Short guy is really the macho guy. He doesn't want to be pampered by the tall girl. But that's a really sweet manga, and I was really lucky to find those in Japan in the late 90s. It's a classic from the early to mid 80s, and I think the single volumes are not so easy to find anymore, at least in a good condition. And I also really dig the color style here. I really like this one. This is Outlanders, which was probably my very first manga I ever bought, but not in Japanese. I got this in English. It was quite well known among the earlier manga fans in the US, Yoshi Manabe. And I came across, I think in 2001, I came across all these one at the smaller shop in Kyoto. I bought them immediately. It was quite cheap. It's a science fiction action manga from the 80s, and I think it's okay. It still holds up. It still holds up, I think. Then some manga by an author called Miura Mio. He's a good example of like early 1980s soft romantic comedy. The drawings are not that good, but it's interesting to see how in the early 80s there was a boom in Japan for romantic comedies. In the 1970s it was more like action-based manga, also dramas, but in the early 80s the romantic boom kicked in. This is also by the same author. Yeah. Then this is also an example of early 1980s romantic comedy. It's called Neko Janaimon, I'm Not a Cat. This looks like a shonen manga, but I think it's actually a seinen manga. It was just that back then the format, the size of the manga was exactly the same like shonen manga. Good. Then that's as well a bit shonen manga. Then I have one volume of Hare no Chigu. I remember when the anime was broadcasted, I lived in Japan and I loved it, and I immediately rushed into the store to buy the first volume, which it was only the only volume I ever gotten, but I like it, it's quite fun. Hare no Chigu. Then short stories by an author who is not well known outside of Japan, Akira Oze. He is mostly well known for human drama manga, or also wine, I think a wine making manga, or was it a sake making manga, which came out in France. But these are his short stories, and I like his drawings. They are very classic, like late 1970s, early 1980s style. I dig it, I love it a lot. Okay, then it's not a romantic comedy, but it's like a romance manga by him. It's called Hatsukoi Scandal. Came out I think in 1980, 1981. And that's the time also where Adachi Mitsuru, the author I told you in the other video, became really big. And I think this one is one of those romantic manga which really hold up with the ones by Adachi Mitsuru. So Hatsukoi Scandal by Akira Oze. His name is Akira Oze. It's a really good one. Then I have some shoujo manga here. This one here, it's called Mizuhiro Jidai. It also became an anime in the mid-90s. It's a story about one girl and her two friends at school, and it starts, I think, in elementary school. Then it jumps to junior high school and high school. It always jumps forth and back a little bit, depending on the story. So it's not an overarching story. Naisho no Tsubame, which was a newer one I came across like 10-15 years ago. I bought that online. Then this one is an interesting one. I think this is a josei manga. And again, Anigon by the same author. In this row here I have the Ranma volumes, like I said in the other video. Here I have all 38 ones. Now you are wondering, why do I have here all the volumes of Ranma and I had some over there? Well, it's because I got those all from a good friend. I got those all for free. And now I have some of my Ranma volumes I have doubled. Then I have some Cat's Eye volumes also from the friend. And in the back I have also again Urusei Yatsura. But these are like the big volumes. They are the big ones. They are called White Band, and they have I think one and a half or two volumes, or in one volume here, the White Band volumes, and I have 15 of those. They are a present from my friend. I hope you like this video, and if you have some questions about my collection or you want to know more things, just leave me a comment, and see you next time. Bye.
風の吐息髪を密かに揺らしている